Smarties, today we are digging into test anxiety. We are chatting about what it is, why it happens, and of course, sharing what to do about it. Smarties, we would love to invite you to leave us a review however you listen to the podcast. We see the reviews, we read them, I screenshot them to Steph, and here's a recent review that was just left by AP Flower. They shared, "My child was diagnosed with ADHD a while ago, and this podcast has been an amazing source of information. It has helped us understand and find strategies so my child can be successful in school." Thank you. Thank you so much, whoever AP Flower is, for taking the time to leave a review and share with us how the podcast is impacting your life at home and with your family and with your learner and their school environment. It means a lot to Steph and I. We spend a lot of time thinking about and planning for the podcast, and we just want it to be a resource that is meaningful. So when we see reviews like this, it really does our heart good. With that, let's dig in.
You want to learn faster, but sometimes working harder is just not the answer. You have to learn smarter. The Educational Therapy Podcast.
Hi, Smarties. Welcome to episode 332 of Learn Smarter, the Educational Therapy Podcast. I'm Stephanie Pitts.
And I'm Rachel Kapp.
And today we're talking about test anxiety.
Okay, but before we do that, what are you watching? Because we haven't talked about that in a minute. Are you up to date on Below Deck?
I think one or two behind.
I'm like one or two behind as well.
I was trying to catch up over the weekend because we had a conversation about me catching up.
Yep.
And I was trying to stay true to it.
Yep. Were you annoyed?
No, I just didn't have time.
I'm annoyed by what's happening on Below Deck right now, but okay.
150%.
I feel so bad for the third stew.
The third stew. She is messing up on laundry. I'm not really understanding why it's so hard, but it is very hard for her.
Yeah.
It's just not her jam. It's just not her jam.
I do think the second stew,
something's happening.
She's just mad.
Right. There's more to the story, I feel like.
She was messing around with one of the guys on the crew.
Yeah.
And I do feel like she's sabotaging.
Yeah.
But okay. Anyway, go on.
Anyway, great food truck race, which I love because that's my COVID show.
Okay.
And there was some 90 Day Fiancé that went on right after.
Ooh, okay.
Single life. I don't know. And then it just was on because I was doing other work. And so then I was just sort of watching it from afar. And I was like, oh this is, okay, yeah. Anyway, you?
So over here, there's obviously been a lot of Olympics.
I've had a lot of Olympics, yes. Yes, agreed.
I'm totally bummed that the Olympics are over now. Mm-hmm. So we're recording this in middle of August. Closing ceremonies were last night. Didn't watch them.
I didn't either.
For whatever reason, I've gone back in time on Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Oh.
And I never watched season 13.
Okay.
I've never seen this stuff before. So, okay. So let's dig into test anxiety.
Yes. Test anxiety.
Oh.
Oh.
Thank you, Elliot.
Small child.
Thank you, baby. I love you.
Oh, he brought her a flower, you guys. Leave that in. That's awesome. It's a red little flower from his walk. I love that. He's too cute.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so test anxiety. This is a big one. This is a reason why we get a lot of calls to begin with. And then it sort of flowers and then, there's more behind this, right?
So it's kind of like reading, right? We always say it's never just decoding and the kids having problems. And so it's the same with test anxiety. It is a symptom.
Yep.
It's the result, not the cause.
Totally.
Of things that need to be addressed.
Yes. So when they come in, sometimes we start with, okay, let's talk about this anxiety that you're having. So test anxiety, it's on everybody's minds, right? How is it showing up when a test is coming and what the learner is feeling, right? And we have anxiety about things, right? So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like when you have something big that you need to do and there's big consequences if you don't do it in the way it needs to be or pass or whatever it is. So what we're trying to say is, what is it? It's the result of something else.
Yeah.
It's the result of not understanding how to do something. It's the result of not understanding the material. It's the result of not feeling prepared because you don't know.
Not feeling in charge of your time, of your things, of yourself digitally. It's the result of feeling like school is happening to you and not the other way around. And that's something that we really want all learners to be able to feel like they're in control of their learning as opposed to feeling like their learning is in control of them.
For sure.
Test anxiety emerges when learners feel like their learning is in control of them as opposed to vice versa.
Yeah. So that's the why.
So what do? There's a lot to do, but also there's no quick fix. So you have a new client coming into the practice. They're a 10th grader, let's just say. And they come, they sit down, they open their history book. I have a history test tomorrow or 2 days.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is every time because that is the most emergent thing for them. And if you've been a long time listener of the podcast or you've worked with either one of our practices, you'll know that, yes, even though that's the emergent need, and we may give them a little bit of stuff to sort of help them through this particular test, but it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
And it's not going to feel better to them.
No.
What we really need is to make sure that their foundational systems are set up and appropriate, and then starting to teach them how to develop their own sense of time. And then once those foundational systems are set up and maintainable, what happens next is now we're digging into the nitty gritty, and we consider study skills the nitty gritty because you have to check for what you know. You have to check for what you don't know. You have to check to make sure you understand how the test is going to be structured. Are there certain parts of the test that you can know that you'll do better on? A, B, C, D. Maybe there'll be multiple choice and you can eliminate 2 and okay, now you have a 50-50 shot of getting it right. Or is it short answer? And do we need some study strategies around short answer? And so on and so forth. And actually, Steph, that could be good future episodes of talking about the different types of tests and how to best prepare for them because it is different.
Yeah.
Once those systems are established and you're starting to get into the nitty gritty of things, you can start getting strategic and looking at how has the teacher tested me in the past?
Exactly. This is the famous pretend you're your teacher. What would you ask? What's important? And I want to go back to when you were talking about this because let's look at why the anxiety popped up and why they come and it's okay, the history test is in 2 days. There's multiple things going on. One is they might have just found out about it that day. They might have forgotten their book and they didn't have it with them all weekend, for instance, or they never remembered to do homework on the weekends and, the test is going to be on a Tuesday or sometimes it's on a Monday. Those types of things are the result of the foundational systems that we're talking about. And what I really want to be clear about is that, yes, they come in, we can put a little Band-Aid a little bit, but this is a bigger picture problem that has been going on for a while, inevitably. And it's really going to take us time to get them set up to be able to feel confident and not feel that same anxiety because everything else is under control. And so this is one of the things that we've talked about before, how grades end up being the last thing to really show up after successful educational therapy.
It's a lagging metric.
It's a lagging metric. It's just like anything else that you don't learn to walk by standing up and walking. That's not how it goes. So you've got to start with the baby steps, and then as those things become more automatic, more autonomous, then those start falling into place. Then you go on to the next skill. Then, as a result, the test anxiety is not always, but most of the time mitigated quite a bit. So sometimes the anxiety is there because that is a reaction that has been used, that's the feeling. And so undoing that takes some time and energy and metacognition as well. So if your learner or you is having anxiety for a test or a big deadline at work or anything like that, get curious.
Look at it holistically.
Exactly.
This is the whole thing that we talk about all the time of when college students are in finals, that's when laundry gets organized. That's when laundry gets done. It gets put away. Their room gets reset. And that's what we're talking about from an academic perspective as well. But go ahead, Steph. Sorry.
I was just going to say, after getting curious about how are they organizing themselves, how are they keeping track of what they need to do, are they really understanding what is being asked of them, and do they understand the material? And if they don't, and asking those questions, what's the reason behind it? And it's not just the teacher, because that's an easy way to say, oh, it's just the teacher.
It's not the teacher. It's not the school. It's not the subject.
Yeah.
Let's dig in and look more holistically.
Yeah.
And it's also not the learner's fault.
No, 100%. 100%. I think it's all the things combined. And yeah, we'll do some episodes about how to study for certain types of tests and how to take them and all of that.
Maybe we'll make November test taking strategy month or whatever.
For finals. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Smarties. This is how the podcast gets planned, in case anybody's wondering. With that, have a great week.
Have a great week.